Hi and welcome to today's video. In this video I will be covering what causes resistance to change, the emotional journey around that, best communication methods of making sure that you get the message through so that you can manage a change and making change make sense, and then understanding that change is a real team sport and how we get people to do things, tackling concerns head on, and how do we equip people to take on and embrace that change. Firstly, let's talk about resistance to change. By understanding common sources of resistance, we can employ strategies to gain buy-in and support for organizations. Now, with any kind of change, you are going to get some sort of resistance. And the main one is really fear of the unknown. People genuinely do not like change because they just don't know what's happening, why it's happening. Fear is the major trigger that causes resistance to change. Another thing, people are, as humans, we like routine, we like things to be done step-by-step process. Unfortunately, that routine then becomes disruptive. Many people cannot cope with that, and you need to handle that with care and attention, making sure that people adapt. And finally, really, the third one is loss of control. Now, many people feel that they lose control and they no longer are able to do their job, or they feel that they are not, are no longer pushing the journey in the direction they see it, and that loss of control gives them that fear factor, which again goes around in that big circle, which causes a disruption of the routine, and then it goes around in a vicious circle, which then individuals will fester on. So next is change the emotional journey. So firstly, understanding the emotional response to change allows us to provide the necessary support and communication needed to gain buy-in and make the transition successful with our team members, colleagues, whatever that might be. Now, the emotional journey starts with anxiety. Now, uncertainty about change and cause anxiety as people wonder about the future, what's going to happen, why is it going to happen. Then the next phase is denial. Some initially deny the change, they avoid dealing with the difficult emotions and just walk away. So they just pretend that it doesn't exist and move on. So you need to recognize that. And then the next one is fear, which we spoke about in the a little bit earlier, and change brings uncertainty. That with it brings fear, which then creates negative outcomes, which impacts their thought processes, and therefore they start thinking of the worst case scenario, and before it, that little problem becomes a big problem, and that fear, anxiety and denial, probably all emotions, become it. And finally, once you've addressed it, you get a degree of acceptance. Now, with time and support, people come to accept the change and hopefully embrace the change as they move on. However, managing that from anxiety to denial to fear and acceptance is a process. As a project manager, you will need to do on many of your projects. A strategy for community change effectively is that you share the reason for the change. Now, giving them the information so that they can take away and digest that information and make their own assessment is really key. And being there with them throughout the journey is really also important. Secondly, is really address their concerns transparently. Now, this what we will find in a lot of organizations, that they will try to supposedly address their concerns, but the answers come back very vague and really don't answer the query, which then creates more anxiety and people are going around in a big circle. So my personal experience is that you address the concern with openness and be clear and be as honest as you possibly can about what's happening. Now, you can't say this, you can't say that. Yes, you have to manage that, but be as open and as honest as you can, and be approachable, which is really key, because if they can be approachable towards you, you can then help transition them from that anxiety or fear stage to the acceptance stage. And then obviously you need to make sure that you are communicating regularly, rather than just saying here's a change and move on. Make sure you are telling them about the change on a regular basis, you're updating them or replying back to questions, you're having regular checkpoints so that they understand what you're doing and why you are doing it. Don't forget, effective communication builds understanding and gets your employees, your team, all invested in the change, which then helps with them getting through that transition phase of that change. And that applies in your projects across the board. So next is, how do you make the change make sense? Now, firstly, as a project manager, you have to lead with the why. Explain how the change connects to the larger goal and show its importance is really key. As part of your project, you might be delivering a new software upgrade, which then changes the process, how people used to do things. You need to explain why you're making the change, what the process changes, and then what the benefits are. If there are disadvantages, be open about the disadvantages. It's really key. Highlight those benefits, make sure that there's importances, but again, I would say also tell them about disadvantages. Be open and transparent as you possibly can. Be open and transparent as you possibly can to make sure that they understand the benefits as well as the disadvantage. Where possible, leverage data that you have to show to demonstrate how that change will have a positive impact, whether it be financial improvements, time saving, whatever it may be. Try to use data, use a presentation, communicate, and make that change visual where possible. Now, one of the things that a lot of people find as a project manager is that you sometimes think that you are on your own when you make this change. Unfortunately, it's not that. You are the person leading it, but change is a team sport. People need to be getting involved overall together to facilitate the change. So by involving all your team members in the change process and empowering them to share feedback, what you will do is get buy-in. They'll get a sense of ownership and accountability, which then will help transition from the fear stage all the way through to the acceptance stage of the change. How would you do that? You engage with your team's members early, make sure they understand what's going on, keep that communication flow going, give employees a voice, let them, or your team players, I would say, give them a voice so that they can speak their mind. If they're not confident, have a representative within the groups who can say what they need. But hopefully as a project manager, you would have built that rapport over time, which then allows you to let people be honest with you and earn that respect, which in turn will mean that they will facilitate that change. Keep that communication flow going. Do not stop after one. Keep it regular. Your frequency may change from daily to weekly, fortnightly, whatever it may be. Keep that communication and make sure you make people aware of when the next element of communication will come into play. When will the next update be? When will I tell you about your questions? When will I have answers? Trying to give a clear timeline so people you reduce the anxiety by giving it a time and a place when things are going to happen. Now, one of the things you mustn't do as a project manager is bury your head and pretend that things are not happening. By you creating an open channel for two-way communication, providing support, resources, and directly addressing concerns, you can establish trust, you can get the users in buy-in, and that, throughout your project, that is really key, because what you are doing is, in 90% of all projects, you are introducing something new to a business, a piece of software, a new environment, new laptops, whatever it may be. You are introducing something new as part of your project, which some people are not comfortable with, and some people will take it in their stride. Tackle the concerns head on. Have open forums. If people want to talk to other people about it, make sure you have somebody that they can go out, reach out to. Have some sort of support system within your project so that if they can't reach you, they've got somebody else to reach. So there's always somebody that they can talk to. And make sure you schedule the regular one-to-one meetings to directly address individuals' concerns. Now, they don't have to be employees, they could be your stakeholders, team players, etc. Whatever it may be, there could be anything that you address. Now, make sure you have the right people around you to support you as well, which is really key. Next is being equipped for change. Now, when you can't simply introduce change to a team without providing the tools and support for the people who are directly affected by the change, whether that be in everyday business, whether that be in your project. You must provide a degree of support. So the first one is training, providing the necessary training so they understand that. Now let's use AI as a prime example. AI would come in, you say it's coming, and people will suddenly think, oh, my job's under threat, or I'm no longer in control. AI is going to take over this. It's going to make me redundant. Whatever it may be, by giving them training, you might turn around and say, actually, look, giving you training in AI, it's actually not going to take your job. What it's going to do is speed up your job, give you more time to do the things that are more important. Have regular feedback channels, create open channels for employees, stakeholders to provide feedback within your projects so that you understand what's going on. And again, don't forget continuous improvement. Build in a process so that you can continuously evaluate and improve on the changes within your business. So have that constantly going around. So review all the questions, review all the answers, and review all the feedback. And finally, embracing change together. Now, one of the things that change is difficult with any project, within any business, but embracing that change and being positive as a project manager, you need to be driving it with positivity, with a good attitude, and raring to go. However, taking a step back, make sure you understand the change, the impact, and who it's going to impact so you can address those changes properly. Embracing change is really important because nothing stays the same, and as project managers, you are there to transition change within your project. So that's very, very key. Embracing new opportunities is really key. You come over new challenges, you thrive. There's so much opportunity with change, and it shouldn't be negative. However, in my experience, I've been in work to many industries, I find change quite exciting. Your learning curves improved, your dynamics are improved as an individual, you are better. As a project manager, you become better. And so it's really key that embracing change together, not just yourself, with your colleagues and your key stakeholders, employees, whoever they may be, is really, really key. That concludes today's video. Now, thank you for listening. I hope that was helpful about how you manage resistance and change. It's in every project. It's just how you tackle it. Don't forget, you've got the fear, anxiety, you've got denial, and then acceptance. Those four, you can identify those traits within whoever teams you're working in. You can help manage those. So don't forget, change is not a negative thing, it's a positive thing. It's just how you handle it that matters.